Hello there. Now, we're from a new location, so if it sounds or looks different, well, I do like the wallpaper for those watching on YouTube. But I'm at Paul's house. Paul Coates Box here joining me once again.
Morning, Chris.
Morning, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Do you know what? I wish they could smell what you've just made me, actually. I've been spoiled. I've had a bacon and sausage butty and plenty of coffee in my Doctor Who mug as well. There you go, for those on YouTube. So, a bit of a different idea for this show. We're going to be looking at our top 10 artists of the 80s. So you've picked 10,
Yep.
I've picked 10. So for the first hour that you'll hear on the radio, we're going to go through mine, and then you've got 10 as well.
Yeah.
Totally different picks.
Yeah, very eclectic taste we've both got. So, as you say, we've both gone for things completely different. There are a bit of overlapping with a couple of the artists, in terms of style, at least. But yeah, it's going to be a good couple of hours show.
You should show you, look at your t-shirt as well, very 80s connection.
Yeah, I thought I'd go for an 80s
well,
connection
look at
t-shirt,
that.
which, for those of you that were of that decade,
There
it
you
might
go.
give you a clue as to what
Def
track or what
Leppard.
artist that's going to feature
There you
in
go.
my top 10.
So
I should just point out, this t-shirt isn't 40 years old. I did get it from the Hysteria Performed a few years ago gig.
well, we'll speak
in its
about
entirety.
that band, of course, in a little while. So the first song I've picked is Shakin' Stevens, A Little Boogie Woogie in the Back of My Mind. Now, of course, Shakin' Stevens, he was the UK's biggest selling artist of the 80s, which, I mean, that's staggering. He's still playing now. In fact, later this year, he's going to be the warm-up artist for Status Quo.
Wow.
So he's still out there.
So I'm assuming that's a solo artist.
Yes.
Yeah.
The first hit was February 1980 with Hot Dog. I think there was an infamous... Was there an interview they did with Richard Madeley around that time where there was a bit of an awkward interview, I think, and I think that got him a bit of publicity. But anyway, Hot Dog was his first hit in 1980. 15 UK top 10s, 4 UK number 1s, 33 UK top 40s. And this song, Little Boogie Woogie, is from June 1987, so it's quite late on and not everyone remembers it. But I remember picking up, probably about 15, 16 years ago, something like that, a best of Shakin' Stevens. And this one just stood out. I think it's a fun song. I remember the video because it came with the DVD. And yeah, there's the obvious ones like Green Door, Little House. But I thought there was something about this one.
It is very different. I'd never heard of this track before. And I hadn't realised until I sort of looked to find out a bit more about this track that I think Shaky started recording in the 70s, didn't he? Releasing singles in the 70s, just there was nothing was a hit until...
Didn't he have a backing group called, was it Shakin' Stevens and the Sunsets, I think, or something
I can't
like
recall
that?
exactly. But yeah, as you say, it was very different. This was sort of that later 80s period. For me, it was kind of Euro-poppy. It was sort of 87-ish, I think, so it was just as sort of dance music was becoming more mainstream. I guess you've got the likes of Stock Aitken and Waterman that were becoming massive, so you've got those influences as well. I mean, yeah, the video's interesting. I think the video would get down well with probably the gay community.
But at the same time, like he was doing hits probably till about 1991, I think it was. He had songs like I Might and Pink Champagne around that time, and then he was on a reality show. I think it was about 2005, something like that. And there was a bit of a renaissance where he came back. I think his last album was called Echoes of Our Time a few years ago. So anyway, this is Little Boogie Woogie. Track 2 is Paul McCartney, This One. Now, my friend Craig introduced me to Flowers in the Dirt. I didn't hear it, Flowers in the Dirt, when it came out in 1989. I think I heard it about 2005.
We should point out at this point, Chris was only 6 then.
When it came out, I was.
He would have had exceptionally good taste if he picked it up at that age.
But he introduced me to Pipes of Peace and Flowers in the Dirt, and both are brilliant albums. They're really good McCartney albums. This one, if I was on Desert Island Disc, I would probably pick this every time. It's just one of them songs that's always, makes your hair stand on end for me, and it's a great song. But did you know there was a bit of a project that McCartney did in the 80s after the Russian album that never got released? It was called Return to Pepperland, or unofficially it's been called that, kind of on the bootlegs. But there was a big session they worked with American record producer Phil Ramone that didn't kind of materialise. A lot of the songs have been released on special editions and things like that. Some of them haven't. There was a Return to Pepperland song that has not seen the light of day, and he was going through a bit of a difficult time in the mid-80s, not quite sure which direction to go in. Flowers in the Dirt kind of salvaged that almost. But yeah, the Return to Pepperland is have a look at that.
So that's linked obviously to the Yellow Submarine movie, I'm guessing, because it was Pepperland that they went to, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, obviously the Russian album was kind of an album of covers. This was all new things, and as I say, there's quite a few songs. If you look for it on YouTube, you'll hear some of the recordings that haven't seen the light of day. And I know there's been special editions around Flowers in the Dirt, and some of these things still haven't been released. Now, I think there's an album, the 1986 album, Press to Play, that hasn't had a special edition release yet. Maybe when that does, some of the material will come out. But Flowers in the Dirt is a great album. Obviously, he collaborated with Elvis Costello on a few of the songs on Flowers in the Dirt as well. But apparently, it wasn't a very good relationship. There was hope at the time it would become a bit of like a Lennon and McCartney relationship, but they didn't really get on that well. So, which is a shame, because some of the songs that you wanted to, that's a great one that they worked together on. And I believe on the new Flowers in the Dirt special edition that came out a few years ago, there's other songs that they worked on as well, which have never been released before. So anyway, this is this one. Right, track 3 is Chas and Dave.
This wasn't a surprise that this appeared.
No, it wasn't.
There was always going to be some Chas and Dave in there for Chris.
I mean, I interviewed him. I remember interviewing him. I think it was 2014.
Which one?
Chas Hodges.
Okay, there's two of them.
Yeah, that's true. And I interviewed him. I was at work, and I managed to arrange it during my lunch break. And using the HR meeting room to interview him for my hospital radio show. I remember that. And he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And it probably helps that he could tell I knew what I was on about, but he was absolutely brilliant. And I'm just so glad I interviewed him. This is a song called That's What I Like, and it's just like basically rhyming off everything they like in a Cockney style, really.
It's Cockney rhyming slang, isn't it?
Yeah, Cannonball's mentioned, Terry Thomas's Teeth's mentioned.
Pie eels and
jellied eels,
pie and mash, pie and liquor.
Old films on the telly. I mean, obviously during the 80s they released Snooker Loopy with the Matchroom Rock Mob. They did the theme tune for In Sickness in Health, the BBC sitcom with Warren Mitchell. 1982, when this came out, was probably their biggest year, I would say and argue, because you have to imagine it's Christmas night. They were on ITV with their own show called Chas and Dave's Christmas Knees Up, which had Eric Clapton as a guest. But at the same time on BBC One, The Two Ronnies was on, which always was a big show. But the first sketch of The Two Ronnies 1982 Christmas special is Ronnie Barker and Ronnie Corbett dressed up as Chas and Dave in a mock pub, taking the mick out of what is on the other channel at the same time. That is the genius of The Two Ronnies.
Yeah, having your finger on the pulse of the comedy.
I mean, that is, and Ronnie Barker does look like Chas Hodges. It's a brilliant piece of. You have to watch the Chas and Dave Two Ronnie sketch, and it's a good, clever, very clever sketch. But obviously, they had a breakthrough hit, Gertrude, in 1979, which is a great song. It peaked to number 20 in the UK. It was the first of 8 top 40 hit singles that they played on. They had hits with Rabbit, Ain't No Pleasing You, which is a great song. They had 9 charting albums. They had, I think the last one, they did an album in 2013 with Warner, I think it was. That's What Happened. That's a great album. If you ever get a chance to listen to that on Spotify, that's a wonderful. It has kind of some really old stuff on there that kind of rejuvenated, like Railroad Bill and things like that. It's a great album. Just a simplistic sound to it. It's brilliant. Anyway, this is Chas and Dave.